Well, good morning. It is October the 31st and we're out on a cruise, which is probably going to be our last cruise of the year. But while we're out here, I thought I'd do a little tour of Moonshadow, show you what we've got inside in both kind of our sleeping mode and also sailing mode. So I'll start with in here, start with ready for sleeping.
Let's start with the tent. What we've done with this, we've kept it simple, so we've got simple A-frame, no windows because that keeps the cost down, and we've got doors either side at the front, zip openings, so you've got plenty of room to get in over the foredeck. We chose a higher boom position because that makes the space in the tent much more acceptable, and it gives me sitting headroom on the thwart, so it makes living in the boat nice and comfortable. It's a proof nylon material, and it has velcro attachments onto a rope bridle that tucks under the gunnel, so it's nice and simple, quick and easy to put up, because if you're ever out in cold and wet conditions you want things to be simple, quick and easy.
So this is the sleeping setup on the boat. We've got a Gore-Tex bivy bag that protects everything in the sleeping setup, keeps it nice and dry. We've got a nice sleeping bag inside that, and a Thermarest inflatable mattress on top of that, and then underneath all of those a foam mat just to protect the rest of it from anything that might be on the floor, stops it from getting too damp. All of that means that we've got a nice dry sleeping setup, which is really comfortable. Even if the boat's a little bit damp on the inside, nothing inside is going to get it all wet. I've also got this, which is a really nice boat blanket made by our friend Johnny Lawler. It's a waterproof material on one side and a fleece material on the other side. Really nice for those evenings before you actually get into the sleeping bag. So I roll this up with the bottom side folded against the bottom side, and that means the top side of the mat never gets dirty from the floor, keeps it nice and clean and dry.
And why, because it's the sleeping bag's already in a bivy bag which is waterproof, why a dry bag as well?
Yeah, so it goes in the dry bag and then in the front tank, and that just means that even if the slightest bit of water gets in the front tank, none of that can get into your sleeping bag, because the last thing you want after a cold day on the water is to get into a damp sleeping bag. Sails on the boat are McNamara cruising sails supplied by Aeroluf Spars with the high visibility red stripe. Mainsail's got two reefs in, about 1 metre and 2 metres deep respectively. It's a slab reefing system with a hook on the tack of the sail, and at the clew there's a reefing line which goes from the boom up through the sail and back down to the boom. It's led through a sheave, forwards through the boom, and comes out at a clam cleat at the front, which has got one of those plastic keepers on it. The Genoa has an Aeroluf spar system, and that has a carbon fibre spar going up the luff of the sail with a drum at the bottom, which allows the sail to be furled round on itself. And with that, it can be actually reefed because it's got that spar inside, so I can roll it up to any size I want and reef that sail accordingly. The furling line is led back from the front of the boat. It goes through the washboards, down through a sheave in the deck, and then is led back to the back of the centreboard case where we can access it from the helm position. Genoa sheets are led back to the thwart inboard in the boat. They're on a Ronston track, which is held to the underneath of the side benches, which allows the block to be moved forwards and backwards when you reef the sail to get the pull coming from the right angle. They're led through a Harken 40mm soft attach block, back to a 57mm Harken automatic ratchet block, and then into a Harken swivel jammer, which allows me to cleat it from any point within the boat. The main sheet is 7mm Marlowe XL Fusion. It's a really nice lightweight sheet and isn't too thick. You want it nice and thin so that it's not too heavy, so that in light winds it doesn't dangle in the water and pull the sail back in towards you. It's got a Harken 57mm ratchet block, and it's a switchable ratchet so you can turn that on or off. And it's a silver one, and the silver one has got twice as many teeth as their normal ratchet blocks, which gives you twice the gripping strength through that ratchet block, which is really nice. Again, using those Harken 40mm box to bring the main sheet back to the bridle at the back of the boat, and then it's a spliced Dyneema bridle from the back of the boat, which makes sure that the pull of the main sheet is working towards the centre of the boat rather than pulling the boom downwards at all. Kicker is a 12-to-1 kicker. It's got 2 sets of triple blocks, and then the output of that is led back to the thwart. That means that while I'm sailing along, I can adjust the kicker with 12-to-1 purchase by using those ropes on either side of the thwart, but I can let it off with the cleat on one of the triple blocks when I want to let the kicker completely off to either reef the sail or to lift the boom onto the boom crutch. It's got a Witchard snap hook at the top of it to clip onto the boom, and that means I can nice and quickly take it off there when I want to take the boat away for trailing. The Outhaul is a 4-to-1 purchase. There's a block inside the boom, and it also purchases around the hook that clips on to the clew. At the front, it's operated with a spin lock cleat. The line is led back through a sheave in the boom and goes through that spin lock cleat, and that means it's nice and easy to operate that Outhaul from inside the boat. These are my 2 halyards, Spinnaker halyard on this side, main halyard on this side. They've both got little tidies up here so I can tidy up the rope, but it keeps them nice and free so they don't get tangled up. I'm using spin locks on both of these, and these have got riv nuts inside the mast that they've been bolted into. The spin locks are really nice because you can let the sail down without having to get your fingers trapped inside a clam cleat, and they're much less bad at tearing up the rope as well. They're much better for protecting that rope. Really easy to use, and just like this, I can release the main halyard. Here's the spinnaker. It's just stored in its bag. The sheets and halyards are all attached with a bobble and loop system, similar to how you'd attach a mainsail to its halyard. Makes it nice and quick to rig and de-rig. The sheets themselves are more of the Marlow XL Fusion. These are tapered, so it's just the core of it. So it's nice and lightweight at that end. And then back at that end, it goes to the full sheets, which is nice and pleasant to grip onto. Spinnaker sheets are run through some sheaves through the back deck, and then run forward through a ratchet block. It's a 40mm Harken ratchet block at the bottom, another automatic one, so that when you let the sheets out, the ratchet isn't engaging. And then through some Harken swivel fair leads with cleats on the end of those as well, and that means I can operate the spinnaker sheets from any point in the boat. The spinnaker pole control is a little Dyneema line with an eye spliced into the middle of it, and that goes over the spinnaker pole and over the ramps that are on the spinnaker pole. It's just clipped onto the outside of the mast, and that means it's really, really quick to attach and detach when I want to go trailing. So the pole control line itself doesn't have to come off the boat at all, it just unclips from the mast. I've got 2 eyes on the front of my mast for clipping the spinnaker pole to. The lower one for the spinnaker, and the upper one allows me to use the spinnaker pole as a stick for the Genoa. The spinnaker pole downhaul is just elasticated to take up the slack, but it does have a stopper to stop the pole from being able to go up too high. And the spinnaker pole uphaul is controlled from back here on the back of the centreboard case. The spinnaker pole is stored just along the side of the centreboard case with a bungee loop just to keep it in place. I've tried other positions, but that's the position that's most out of the way, and it's not too difficult to get it out when I need it. So for mooring, I've got 1 cleat on the foredeck, 2 matching fair leads right at the front that we can then lead lines through, and a painter, which is some 6mm 3-strand rope, which is permanently spliced onto that cleat on the foredeck.
Easy clip on. Bungee to give it some stretch. Take the sting out of it. And just long enough. fenders need to be a decent size because of the dishy shape of the hull of the Wayfarer. Either end's got a spring clip, so they're quick and easy to attach to spring it onto the shroud. And Jonathan here has got prusik knots, so that they slide up and down, and you can adjust the height of the fender to suit whatever you're moored up against. Incredible, isn't it? That line of cloud.
So, while we're on passage up towards Harwich, let's have a look around the cockpit and see what we've got inside the cockpit. So at the back of the cockpit we have very little, to be honest. Things are kept nice and clean, so there's plenty of space and very little to get tangled. Obviously the rest of the main sheet's down there, ready to be let out. Got a paddle on this side, which hasn't actually been stowed away properly yet, but it just goes in those little bungee loops, ready to be accessed very quickly. Boom crutch is on the port side of the boat. Both very quick to access those. And then, moving forwards, underneath each side bench we've got a fender which is clipped in at both ends, and one of these rubber seating pads which are really nice and comfortable to sit on. So same on both sides. This is one of these seating pads, very comfortable. In the front here, against the centreboard case, I've got a couple of bags. I've got a little bag for halyards that just goes in here, and then bigger bag either side. This one has got mooring lines and spare tiger ties in. This one has got my main anchor. Just tucked underneath the front here is my second baby anchor. That just lives in its own little bag in there. This is my box that houses my chart plotter and my electronics with all the charging devices, and then the compass sitting on top of that. We've got a bucket. It's a folding bucket on either side. That's nice and easy to access if we need it, and then the flares are just tucked away in here. Spinnaker. The orange bag has got all my things for the day, so that's got a few warm clothes, it's got sun hats, warm hats and gloves and things, sun cream, all my valuables, anything like that is in that orange bag. So if I go ashore somewhere, I can just take the orange bag with me, and that's everything I need. Just in front of the tabernacle, there's a fuel can. There's a big 5-litre bottle with water for filling up with that. And then that green bag contains all of our foul weather gear. So salopettes, jackets, dry suits, which, as you can see, we're not really wearing much of at the moment because it's quite nice and warm. And then I've got a throw bag in there, just as a general long line if it's needed. And then, finally, underneath, I've got these 2 mesh nets. This one has got snacks and things for the journey. This one here has got first aid kit. It's got a really big waterproof torch. It's got a fuel nozzle and a few other useful bits for the boat. That all lives in there. So that's pretty much it. The things that are out in the cockpit are the things which you're likely to need quickly while you're underway, so you don't want to be opening up any of the waterproof storage compartments. But nothing else is out here, only the things that I'd want to access whilst I'm actually in the middle of sailing.
Pretty high stress environment we're in at the moment. Apart from I've got my sunglasses.
So, this is navigation setup on Moonshadow. We've got a compass to steer by, and here we've got this tablet. It's a waterproof tablet that is nice and bright and allows me to see what's happening on the chart. This is the baby anchor. It's a 1 kilogram Bruce anchor with 1 metre of 6mm chain, all in a nice bag. Very easy to quickly deploy that and chuck it overboard. Then in this bag we've got the main anchor, which just has to be folded out to deploy it. It's a Mantus anchor. It's about 1 kilogram. It's their stainless steel dinghy anchor with about 2 meters of chain on it and 30 meters of stretchy nylon warp. And that's how it's assembled. Very good anchor, very sharp, and it will dig in nicely to anything that's a slightly harder bottom. And then to disassemble it, it's exactly the same thing. A little spring-loaded pin here, and it all goes back. Nice and neatly and out of the way. And last but not least, the spray dodgers, which are really useful in conditions not like today. But when it's a bit wet and lumpy and you're beating into the wind and you get lots and lots of spray coming over the front, these are fantastic. Clips in place there, clips around the mast, just above the gooseneck. And mine are quite tall, they keep a lot of spray off, and they also keep a lot of the wind off too, so just behind here it suddenly then gets a lot warmer. Really nice for a lunch stop to put both the spray dodgers up and shelter behind it. So I think that's the end of our little boat tour. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's been useful to have a look around some of the bits in the boat. And do feel free to ask any questions if you're wondering how anything else works. For us now, we're going to drift back downriver, get into the marina, and go to the pub. Yeah. End of a nice day. See you soon.